Okay, Hillary, so this is Grant again on May 19th, Sunday. I just finished a video with Taya, and I was super happy with how she did. That was very cool. And then I brought Braveheart in here, and I wasn't really even planning on filming Braveheart's session, but since I had that really big issue where he just absolutely would not come into the indoor. It was mainly the man door, if you will. So I have these double door, like patio style double doors that I lead horses through most of the time. Like usually I can lead horses through. If they're not saddled, I won't even open both doors. I just lead them through one. And he came in here a couple of times, and then finally he was just like, "Nope, I'm not coming in." And there wasn't anything I was ever going to do to make him come in here. And he's a big boy, and he can. He's a whole lot stronger than I am. And we found out that our groundwork wasn't very good, and his trying to get him not to just step over this rope. Uh, his give to the halter wasn't very good. Those things worked okay when he was in a confined environment like the pen out there, or even in here. But when he didn't want to come in this door, and I started asking him to do some groundwork and doing some things trying to loosen him up to come in here, boy, it turned into a wreck. And he dragged me all the way across the outdoor, down the aisles. I mean, he dragged me all over this place. And so kind of went back, took about probably a week to retrain everything. Went back and worked on lateral flexion a bunch more, just all the basics, all the stuff I would have worked on in here, but had to work on it out there because I couldn't get him in here. And then a couple days I let him through this big gate, so a 12-foot opening through the garage door, and then had the gate open. So he was much bigger space. He could come in here. Came in here 2 or 3 times that way. And then today was the first time he led through that man door since that day that we had such a big fight. So I was really, really happy that he came through that. And it was super easy. I let, just pressure and release about 3 times. And then he just walked in on his own. I didn't even lead him in per se. It's just kind of stood there and he just came right on in. So, but there's been a lot of work out there, a week's worth of work at least, getting his focus onto me, getting the softness to the halter. We did a ton of different techniques out there to teach him to get off that pressure of the halter and stay focused on me. So anyway, all that worked really well today. So I wanted to film because obviously he's in a pretty good mental state if he came right in that door. Kind of wanted to brag on him a little bit how good he did there. So we'll do a little bit of light groundwork. Again, work with the horse you have today. If he starts misbehaving, we got to do more. But my goal for him today would be not to work him very hard because I want to reward him for coming right in here. I want this to be a nice, fun, happy, rewarding session for him, which is partly why I'm talking for so long right here, because he's still kind of looking around and thinking about different stuff. And I want him to really be able to mentally process everything in here and then come to an okayness with being in here. But I do want to work on a few things. I want to just work on some body control stuff. So I'm going to do, I think what I'm going to start out with is the exercise where we back up, swing the hind end, say 90, 180 degrees, something like that, and then keep backing, and then swing the hind end, and then keep backing, swing the hind end, and back. So we'll start out with some backing. I'm going to ask him to release here. You can see how soft he is in that backup. His head and neck is actually bending a little bit. You see his head comes down nice and easily now. Remember how stiff he was with that earlier. And then as he initiates that backup, you can see his head pops up just a little bit, which is normal. Not necessarily good, but normal, because remember, like I was talking about with Taya, most horses use that head as a counterbalance to throw their feet around, and that's how they walk, kind of like this, right? Like our head isn't very much of the percentage of our body weight, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to throw our head around to get our legs to move, right? And it's not hanging out there in front like a horse's head. But you think of a horse's head, probably, I don't know, 30% of its weight, it starts throwing that thing around, it can lift a leg off the ground with that pretty easily and not have to actually engage the muscles of that leg, right? And so it's the same in that backup. For him to back up athletically and lift each leg independently and engage his core, he needs to be able to do that with a soft neck. And so my tool, my way to access his legs to get him to actually engage his legs is to ask him to back up while keeping his head and neck soft. Now, he's not capable of doing that 100% at this point, but, you know, so I'm not asking for 100%, but what I can ask for, see if I can get back here to where the camera is. Okay, I'm going to ask for the head and neck to loosen like that. Now I'm going to ask for him to back up. That's good right there. His head pops back up. I'm not going to punish him for it. Just bring his head back down, ask him to loosen it up, and ask him to move his feet. When his head pops up, we just ask him to loosen it again and move your feet. Right there. Yeah. Just took one little step there where it was actually intentional and not just a reaction to his head and neck moving. He gets a little balled up right there. Just need to kind of get him off of that. That's a little bit better. Now his head and neck's pretty stiff. Everything's kind of stopped now. There. Better. And I'm going to go into some lateral flexion. Now he has a tendency, every horse is a little bit different with where their stiffness is. He has a tendency to do this lateral flexion in a very nosed out. Everything this horse does is nosed out, right? So we're trying to bring that nose in and ask him to collect and do the same thing in that lateral flexion. Instead of his nose being out like that in the lateral flexion, we want it to be in like this in lateral flexion. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask him to do a little bit of groundwork. I want to get his feet moving. Notice he caught that signal real easily. This horse is quite well focused on me these days, which I really like. He's already looking at you. I'm going to ask him to trot off here. Good. You notice he trotted. I didn't even make a noise. Keep going. I just put my arm out and he trotted just off of that cue. That's how good this horse's groundwork is getting. We had to get the groundwork this good just to make it into that door of the indoor. Now there he kind of got confused. I don't think that was even stubbornness or being like, oh, I'm going to do what I want. I think he just got a little confused there. Probably because the gate's right there and he's thinking about the gate, so he probably kind of forgot about thinking about me. And that is one issue. So something you're going to have to realize when you start riding him, or when I start riding him, but eventually you're riding him. This horse is extremely destination addicted. And I think, so the owner told me that he is the herd leader at his home. He kind of takes care of, protects, whatever you want to call it, all the other horses. I think he sees it as his mission in life. Hang on. He sees it as his mission in life to be with those other horses and make sure they're doing the right thing or whatever, protected, whatever. So when he's in here by himself, he's like, yeah, I know you're over there, but dude, my buddies are out there. I need to be with them. And I understand it. Like, I can empathize with that mentality, right? You know, you care about your family first. You don't really care about what this idiot human's telling you to do, right? But through the training, because he's not going to be much use to anybody if he's always focused on his buddies. If you can't ride him out from the herd and have him stay present with where you're at because he's so worried about being back with the herd, you're never going to have a fun time on that horse or have a useful horse. So I've got to be empathetic to his plight that he thinks, oh my gosh, what about those other horses out there? But I've got to continually draw his attention back to me and let him know, hey, it's going to be more work over by this gate. Notice that I'm doing more of the work over here. I'm not taking him to that end and trying to hold him over there. I'm saying, hey, we're doing work over here. And when I start riding him, I'm going to do a lot of destination addiction work with this horse, probably more than I would do with most. So we're doing our work over here. I might take him over there and let him rest too. Better. Kind of tripped over himself there, but all right, there's looking at you. Now I think what I'll do is, since we did a bunch of work here, I'm just going to take him right over here and let him rest away from the gate. All right, we'll just rest over here a little bit. Now, if I don't feel like he's staying focused and, if I need to go back to work, I'm probably going to more or less, we'll work our way back over to the gate. And I'm not going to fight him on it. I'm just going to let him rest over here each time. So just like Taya, he's kind of looking around. He's like, maybe I need to be over there. Maybe I need to be over there. Maybe I should check that out. Maybe I could get back to the other horses if I just walked away. If he acts on those distractions, I'll do something about it. But as long as he's just kind of mentally bouncing around, we'll just wait and see what happens. Eventually, he'll either become present and relaxed and lick and chew, or he'll act on this distraction and walk off somewhere. He's not going to do nothing here, basically. He's either going to relax or walk away. That's why we call this the unstable state. He won't stay like this forever. There, he checked in with me. So every time he goes from looking to the right to the left, he checks in with me as he's going back and forth. So I know he still has the ability to be here mentally. It's kind of interesting with this horse. He seems like he's very, he seems like a horse that nothing phases him, but he's really not, actually. He has a tendency to get pretty nervous about different things. I'm going to go ahead and just pick up that poop before it gets shredded in here. And he comes back to relax very easily, but you have to notice that he got up, and you have to do something like bring his focus back to you to help him get back to that relaxation. So if he was, being trained, or when I give this horse back to the owner, if the owner's not aware of those times when he gets anxious and just presses on because she's just like, oh, nothing phases him, no big deal, he's going to have a tendency to get a lot more anxious and could turn into something really bad because he is a very big, strong horse. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting because he'll fool you into thinking that, oh, nothing phases him at all. He's solid. And he is for the most part. Like, he'll be a great, eventually one day he could do parades and all those sorts of things because most things don't phase him. He is very brave. His name Braveheart fits him very well. But there are still things that get him nervous, and that's when he kind of forgets all of his training and just says, hey, if I'm nervous, forget about you. I'm taking care of myself and my buddies. So I just want to offer him this opportunity to relax. Again, away from the gate. Good, and there's a lick and a chew. He's doing a lot of snorting, but I don't care. He's staying present. He hasn't moved his feet. He's checking in with me a bunch. He's looking at stuff over there, but that's all right. Again, today I don't mind doing a lot of standing because the real win for today was getting him in through that door. The fact that he just came in through that door on his own. So, he held up his end of the bargain today. I want to hold up mine by not getting into too much craziness here and getting into a fight. Okay, so took that step up to me. Normally with most horses, I'd send him off to work right there. But with him, because he's so destination addicted, I'm going to go ahead and bring him back. And he was very much relaxed too. So I'm kind of both rewarding and punishing, if you will. I'm rewarding by coming back over here because he stayed relaxed. So we're going to go to where he wants to be. But then we're going to do some work because he went ahead and took that step forward. And so we're going to go ahead and do some work here. You can see he goes off in a trot. So his anxiety is built up a little bit. So I'm saying, hey, you want to move your feet? You can move your feet. I won't keep you from moving your feet. But you are going to move your feet in the direction I tell you. And I'm going to pick up on your face every once in a while and have you put a bend in your face like that right there. There. And I'm going to, I was a little indecisive there. Just ask you to walk. I was debating between going up and bending him to a stop, transitioning into lateral flexion, or just slowing him down to a walk, or keeping him in the trot. And I kind of did all three at the same time. It wasn't very good. Slow him down to the walk and ask him to keep going. Now he trots. So with him, you remember with Taya, she couldn't focus on me and move her feet at the same time, right? With him right now, he can't be in a walk. He has to either be in a trot or a stop. There's the walk. There we go. Now he's thinking about me. Whenever that lead rope comes tight right there, he really comes back to me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask him to trot. So this horse, just looking into the future, is going to take a lot of work on collection, and like we're probably going to spend a lot of time once he's under saddle, which I'd love to put the saddle on. Like I could go ahead and saddle him today probably. I'm ready to start doing that. But anyway, once he's under saddle and has the snaffle bit in his mouth, I'm going to spend a lot of time with him having that snaffle tied around, not super tight, but just tight enough that he kind of has to give to it. So he can find the release. We want to have enough slack that he can find the slack, but tight enough that if he tries to just be straight and stick his nose out like that, he's going to be under pressure. Okay, and we're going to, first we start by just tying it around like that and then letting him just stand and find the release on it. And then we actually have him do groundwork like this, holding that bend, so that that right there starts to go away. So anyway, there's going to be a lot of time spent in that before we really start riding. That time he didn't really step over in the hind end right there, so I'm going to go ahead and do my backing from this side. And I'm not asking you to back up yet, so he took a step backwards, so I'm going to ask him to come forward. Oh, see, there's a little stiffness there. A little stiffness, a lot of stiffness. Step up. A lot of stiffness. Step up. That's a little bit better. All I was asking for originally was you to put your head down. There you go. Good boy. There we go. Now, he was already backing, so I'm going to skip the backing part for a second. I'm just going to ask him to disengage here. Good. I like that the first foot that moved was this outside hind foot, and it stepped up and under that inside hind or outside hind foot. I really like that. All right. Not yet. That was together. There. Good. He's got to get a little more loosened up in this hind end. There we go. You see how much better that head and neck is now that the hind end is loosened up a little bit, right? I'm going to ask him to back up. There we go. It's starting to be better. If he can back with his head in this position, that means he's really got to use his core and his leg muscles. There we go. See him pop his head up. He's like, oh, that's hard work. I don't want to do that. But that's what I'm asking of him. There we go. Better. This body control stuff and building the correct body movements kind of takes a long time on some of these horses like him and Taya and just the ones that aren't curated bloodlines. Starlene's horse Louis, particularly with these Mustangs, they're not curated bloodlines that have been built for proper movement and proper conformation, for 100 years and stuff. And so, it's not that they can't move correctly, but they take a little bit more work to make them correct movers than, some of the, the higher, better bloodline domesticated horses. Not that all domesticated horses move well either. Most of them don't. But just, I'm talking about the really nice ones that maybe move more nicely naturally. But either one's fine. We just gotta get them moving nicely one way or the other. Let's see, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna transition into lateral flexion right there. Did you see him throw his head right there? He kind of said, screw you, I don't want to do this. So he's blocking me out right here. I don't mean mentally blocking me out. I mean not allowing me to get up into this position and not being soft. So I'm saying, hey, yield this side. Be soft to this halter. There. Yield this side and do lateral flexion. Very good. There. That's all you needed to do. Didn't have to be that big wreck. Okay, so hopefully the camera caught that. I'm not sure if all of that was on the camera, but so if it wasn't, I'll kind of describe what happened. Basically, he's going around, and what initiated that was, whereas the entire rest of the day has been very cooperative, he went through his head and did a big studdy move. Now, particularly because he has been a stud for most of his life, still have to treat him like a stud. Not that you really should treat a stud any different, but studs, you do want to be quite a bit more on the ball with any kind of obstinate behavior. Whereas a mare or a gelding, you might work with them a little bit. Man, when a stud does something like, I'm in charge, you shut that shit down immediately. So when he threw his head, I knew I needed to do something. So what I chose to do was walk up there and go into lateral flexion. Kind of the same thing I would do from his back. If I'm riding on his back and let's say he whinnies at a horse, tosses his head, I'm going to go right into lateral flexion one way or the other. So I asked to go right into lateral flexion like this. All I wanted to do is come up here on his side and pick up that rope and do lateral flexion, right? It should have been that easy. That's all I was trying to do right there. But he blocked me out. So he kind of put himself in like this kind of position, whereas I'm trying to walk up here, he kept blocking me out. So that's when I start bopping him in the nose, swinging the rope at him, saying, hey, you need to let me into that position, not be trying to be dominant and blocking me out of that. So that's why, that's kind of what the whole thing was going on there. All right, let's try that again. Okay, he starts trotting. I'm going to ask him to come back to a walk. And that time he didn't toss his head and act studdy. He just is trotting more out of anxiety, I think, than like, I'm doing my own thing, And so that's why I'm not being near as forceful. I'm not going all the way up and transitioning lateral flexion. Because when I pick up on this and ask for his attention, he is giving me his attention, coming back to a stop pretty good. See, he's checking in with me. He's like, hey, what do you need me to do? Very submissive kind of, not submissive in like a dominant submissive way, more just like a communication, like he's trying to work with me. He's trying to play the game here. Whereas earlier he definitely wasn't. But if you're consistent and you shut that dominance thing down really quick, then you don't have to do a whole lot of it later. There, now he transitions to a walk. So I don't want to be the one holding him back from trotting, but I'm just going to say, hey, every time you trot, I need you to focus on me. You're going to have to bend. You're going to get pressure in that lead rope. And then you're just going to go right back to walking anyway. So why trot? I want him choosing not to trot, not me choosing for him not to trot. I'm just going to go and send him the opposite direction right here. So what's happening is he's trying to get to that gate over there. So that you can tell he's always trots going in this direction, going towards the gate. Sorry, he thought I was pointing that way. He's always trotting towards the gate, and when he gets over there, he's pulling on the halter real bad. And then on this side, he doesn't really pull on the halter. It's only right here because he's trying to go to the gate. See that? And so that's what is happening on the other direction too. And so that's why I switched directions where I did, so that he has to stop and change directions. When he wants to go that direction, he has to give up and go this direction. So this is all about that destination addiction stuff that I was talking about. And this is what you're if I ride him, whenever you ride him, we're gonna fight really, really hard once we're under saddle with this buddy sourness destination addiction side that he has. Like I say, every horse has their own thing, their own battle that you have to fight. It's just identifying what his is. So I'm probably going to start to look for a stopping point with him. Obviously, we're not at one right now. But when he gets back to as calm as he was earlier, where he's just walking and not feeling the need to trot, not thinking more about that gate over there than he is about me, then I'll go ahead and probably quit him. You can see when he's going, he's not thinking anything about me because I'm asking him to stop here, and he's not really getting to a stop. He's not ready to go the other way. There, that was better. Pretty soon, he's going to realize that it's easier just to walk. See, he's not ready for that at all. That's why he's not going the right direction. So notice that he's making this hard on himself. Remember, I came in here and said, I really don't want to make it a tough day. I'm not making this tough on him. All I'm doing is waiting for him to relax and come to a walk. He's the one that's trotting around, making it tough on himself. See, there he's like, I don't want to go because I'll have to trot, and trotting's hard. I'm like, you don't have to trot. Just walk nicely. But he's like, no, if I go, I have to explode and trot. No, you don't. There. Now you can just walk nicely, see? And when he walks, I'm not going to switch directions as much. There he trots because he's going towards the gate. And I'm going to get pretty stout with him right there. Going towards the gate, he started to speed up. And be like, nope. So that's all caused by him. I have no desire to make this a lot of work for him. So he's starting to look at me and go, man, I don't want to go. This is a lot of work. I'm going, you don't have to trot. Just walk. It wouldn't be near as much trouble. There you go. And don't pull on the lead rope. Don't be so destined to go to the gate that you hit the end of that halter and it won't be near as much work on you. This is very simple. Been doing this for 2 months. It's not that difficult. Good. So he gave me a nice circle. I think we did maybe 2 circles right there. They were really good. So I'm going to allow him to stop. Notice I'm allowing him to stop over there and not over by the gate. And there's looking at you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and be done on him for tonight. I think that was a really good session. I'm glad we got a little of that attitude and dominance, kind of that steadiness kind of coming out. And we were able to deal with a little of it, because if it's in there, I want to get it out and deal with it. And we saw just a little bit of it, and then we kind of shut that down and got him back to a really good point. So drew out a little of the bad stuff, fixed it, and that's a good session for today. All right, have a good evening. We'll talk to you guys later.